All right, welcome in to Are You Ready for a Podcast, the official podcast of the Are You Ready for Some Football Fantasy Football League. It is week 6, well, about to be week 7, and Joe and I both had another winning week. Joe, how you feeling?
Feeling great. How are you?
I'm pretty good. Got the win. And so can't complain. But we'll start with another big performance against Austin. The number one week this week was Nick. Big week for his team, getting the win 146 to 127 over Austin. For Nick, he crosses 13,000 points in this game, becoming the 6th team to do so, and it's also his 45th 100-point game. But more importantly for Austin, he continues to give up absolutely absurd weeks. This is the 4th number 1 scoring week against Austin and the 3rd consecutively. Both of those have only been done once before in league history. So actually Grant last year was the only other team to ever have 3 straight number 1 overall scoring weeks against him. And Dan, I think in 2014 was the only other team to ever have 4 number 1 scoring weeks against them over the course of a season. Austin's done that already in 6 weeks. So pretty unfortunate break for Austin once again. He just can't catch a break this year. Joe, what are your thoughts on this matchup?
Yeah, Nick scored 146 points, and that was lowered Austin's points against average for the season.
Yeah, I think he's at like 150.1.
Yeah, it's over 150. Yeah, he's just had terrible luck. And unlike Grant last year, I don't really foresee a situation where he turns it around and wins the championship as of right now. Yeah, so Nick starting to get some better performances from his receivers. Nick quietly is 5th in scoring this year. So, like a couple weeks ago, we were really down on him after his putrid week, but he's had two really good wins in a row. He's doing it without Calvin Ridley. He's patching together the running backs here. He was able to plug in Khalil Herbert. It was a good pickup by him last week. Ended up being the Bears starter, scored 2 touchdowns. And so so just he's putting together some better performances, and I kind of see his team starting to turn a corner a little bit. Austin, really rough. 1-5, should be 3-3, but he's 1-5. Just the performances that you hate to see or the losses you hate to see when you're a top 3 scorer actually this week. He might get JD McKissick this week as a starter, because who knows about Antonio Gibson. So I guess that's a little boost, but his team's kind of injured, and he's 1-5 now, and just not looking good for him.
Yeah. I mean, it's tough for Austin because he's had some decent weeks, and he's just run into good teams. I mean, he scored 127, 131, 119, for inside the last 4 weeks. His team's kind of turning around, really. He's still 11th in scoring, but he's been better of late, and he just absolutely can't catch a break. I think that's the 3rd time I've said that, so I finally need to think of a new expression. But yeah, just really another tough performance for Nick. I think the biggest bright spot is that the receivers are finally starting to pay off.
Yep.
Stephon Diggs, big game. CeeDee Lamb, huge game. Mark Andrews has been great the last couple of weeks. He's finally getting some help outside of Brady. And so that's good to see for him. That's definitely a positive moving forward. I still have some question marks about the running backs, but his team's definitely trending upwards. And then, yeah, just feel bad for Austin. I've been there before. Actually, I haven't been there in that specific sense, but just where it feels like you can't catch any breaks. He's now, I think, 1.5 games underwater in terms of scheduling luck. So he's definitely drawn the short straw a few times. So we'll move on. The next high score this week was me against Dan in a game that I won handily, despite Derrick Henry's best attempts to scare me, 140 to 110. And I felt good about the performance. Finally got some touchdowns. Finally got a big defensive performance. Having Chuba Hubbard for a few more weeks certainly helps. Joe, what did you see here?
Yeah, your team, I think it might not have the consistency, but it certainly has the upside. Mahomes, Aaron Jones, Tyreek, and Thielen, returned, had a great game. Um, I think for Dan, getting Chuba for you for at least 2 more weeks is huge. That's your biggest roster concern, and so that fills it for another couple weeks. For Dan, I think he really needs to start racking up the wins until he gets to Derrick Henry's bye week, which is later in the season. I think it's like week 12 or 13. He's got to start patching them together because you got to figure that's a loss right there. So that's 5 losses, and kind of we were talking about it before. In the last couple of days that we've been saying all year that you need 7-7. With the way these bottom teams are kind of eating up the losses, you brought this up as a good point. Like you might need to be 8-6. We have 6 teams right now at 4-2 or better, so you might need to be 8-6 to make the playoffs. So Dan at 2-4, he's going to have to really start turning it around. He's still, it's just another week. He has not figured out his receiver situation. Just really bad there, but. I think Joe Burrow will be a decent fill-in for until Russ gets back. So he's got that going for him. He's still got Latavius, who's okay. It's just he's just got so many holes that it would be hard to be anything but concerned if you're him.
Yeah, I mean, I think that he really his year. He did get that one fortunate win, but he's been somewhat unlucky. I mean, I think he's like half a game below water in the luck rankings, and he's been consistent. I mean, this is his 3rd straight week scoring 110, and he's lost every week. He also has a loss scoring 112. He's been in that range. The problem is just the upside. He just doesn't have enough outside of Derrick Henry and outside of Alvin to make up for it. And now, he loses Mr. Unlimited, big loss there. So we'll see if Burrow can be enough. Reasons to be concerned for Dan. I think he still can make a run. I'm starting to wonder, and I get your thoughts on this. Does he need to move off of one of these running backs and try to get himself some more upside at the receiver position?
Yeah, I think that's something he should look into. I wouldn't give up Henry because I think he's with McCaffrey's injury stuff, he's probably the most valuable player in fantasy right now. I think he's clearly shown that, but I think you could make the argument he could trade Kamara, depending on what he could get back, and it would complete his roster a little bit more, and he still has he could get a worse running back and maybe a receiver or something like that, so that would fill out his lineup a little bit more, and he still has James Conner and Latavius Murray, who are okay, they're startable options. So I think that's something to explore, but I wouldn't be rushing to trade him just to trade him. Like, I think the right offer has to be there.
Yeah, I think off the top of my head, like go to get Kamara, go to Morgan and make an offer for, if you can get Devontae Adams plus for Kamara, you have to do it, right?
I don't know if I'd do that if I was Morgan. I kind of trust Devontae week to week more than Kamara. Just they're all in those offenses, and like Morgan's running back situation is good enough. Yeah, I don't know if I'd do that if I was Morgan.
Or Nick, try to go to Nick and
maybe I think that I think Nick would do it. Yeah, I think that would be the guy to go to.
Or Diggs.
Yeah.
But now it's tough because with Kamara through his bye, you don't want to sacrifice that value where you give up a game.
Right.
So I don't know. Tough position to be in. We'll see if he makes a move or if he sticks it out and just tries to play the waiver wire. So we'll keep going. I've got off the page now, but the next highest points I think was you, right?
No, it was Hunter.
Oh, it was Hunter, right? Hunter with the big win over Zach. Zach, of course, moves to 0-6. Hunter gets another win without McCaffrey. Every single one of these feels like he's stealing one. And he can thank Ben for this one because Cooper Kupp with 29.5 points, Jalen Waddle with 24 points. Really, I guess good management to get those guys. But he sort of was given a gift this week. And he's now 3-3 despite missing his best player for the last 3 weeks. It was his 20th 125-point games, and now he's the second team to do that, and he's now beat Zach 5 times in a row. So he's got Zach's number. Reasons to be encouraged here for Zach. Things are getting dire.
Yeah. That was the first note I wrote was that that Cooper Kupp trade really worked out. Who could have seen that one coming? So Hunter, just to get this win, it was a big bye week for him. Once McCaffrey was declared out, he had to put in David Johnson, who he got half a point from, and he still won by 40. So that's huge. So now he's going to get Mike Davis back. He's going to get Trey Sermon back. He's going to get Corey Davis back. So those are 3 options he can plug back in. Big performance from Jalen Waddle and Noah Fant, which was nice. Zach's just done. 0-6. His team is super injured. The only thing he's playing for is to avoid the Hannie. He's got to go 7-1, and even that wouldn't be good enough.
Losing Hunt is absolutely
brutal. He lost Kareem Hunt. He might not have Antonio Gibson this week.
Lost Tony, who he just spent a bunch of waiver money on.
His status looks up in the air. He lost Kadarius Toney for the next couple of weeks. Outside, Austin has 100 more points against, so I think you could make the case he's obviously the most unlucky, but Zach, the combination of just horrible injury luck and points against luck, he's far and away second in points against, just not his year. And so there's nothing you can really do. Just gotta, regroup for next year, but he can still avoid the Hannie, and I don't know what else to say.
Yeah, no, I agree. And Hunter, despite getting through a big bye week and not having McCaffrey, he's 6th in scoring. He's top half of the league in scoring. So I think, as far as outlook for the rest of the season, I mean, he's in a perfect position. Really couldn't ask to be better considering the McCaffrey injury.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's in a great spot. He's not currently in the playoff picture. He's tied for 7th, but he's got just, we've talked about it extensively. He's just got a great team moving forward that in between Lamar and if he gets McCaffrey back, both his running backs and both his receivers, just top to bottom, really good.
And then with 124 points, you got the win over Grant. Grant's first loss in feels like forever. Breaks the 9-game winning streak. Y'all both crossed 14,000 points in this one. Grant was the second team to get there, and you were the third. It was also your 60th 100-point game, and snapped a 5-game winning streak for Grant in this matchup, in addition to his 9-game winning streak overall. And I was looking back through just to see, and this is the first time here with 98 points that Grant's been under 100 points or under 110 points in his last 14 matchups. So over a season of just really, really solid performances, and ran up against you and just couldn't do anything. So what's your breakdown of this matchup?
Yeah, it only took 3 starters being out for Grant, so that definitely broke in my favor. I think it was nice to get, for me, it was huge to get a win without, I didn't have Nick Chubb this week or either Bears running back. And David Montgomery's out for a few more weeks. Damian Williams was on the COVID list. So the Darrell Williams pickup last week came in extremely clutch. I think it was nice to get AJ Brown back on track a little bit on Monday Night Football in the second half. I would say though my major concern, other than I'm headed into a big bye week with some running back injuries, but my major concern going forward is Tyler Lockett. Just seems like a non-factor with Geno Smith as quarterback. So fortunately, I have a super injured Zach this week. So if I can get to 5-2, I don't think it's too much to worry about, and we can buy some time until Russ gets back to kind of complete my lineup there. But I don't think that's too bad of a loss for Grant. He was on a 9-game winning streak, so he was bound to lose one at some point. And when you're down that many starters, that'll certainly happen.
Yeah, for sure. So big win to challenge Zach towards the top of the standings. Make things a little bit interesting. Zach won't just totally run away with it, it looks like. So now we're gonna move on to the close one, the Monday night, the weekly Monday night matchup that came down to the wire. and it was Morgan pulling out the win, 106-104 over Thomas, thanks to a Dawson Knox 2-point conversion pass, where apparently he had a broken hand. So I don't know. Morgan's dominated this matchup all time. He's now 10-3, and he's got to be happy with that break on Monday Night Football.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't think, or he probably didn't think it would come down to that. He was down 4 with what's been a really good tight end for him this year. So kind of came down close, but he pulled out the win, gets to 4-2, just keeps on grinding out wins here. I think it was nice for him to get it without Terry and Devontae didn't have the best games. Devontae was like an inch away from staying in bounds and scoring a touchdown, so that would have given him the win more easily. But still nice to get a win when those guys come out for like 15, 16 points. And I think it might be time to get a little bit concerned about Terry. I know Fitzpatrick's coming back in the next couple weeks, but it's been a couple disappointing weeks with Hannie. So, and that's Morgan's second or third best player. So, but I mean, if he's getting wins with underwhelming performances, that's a good thing for him. No Kyle Pitts kind of hurt Thomas. That would have, that's probably the big difference. You got to figure if he's in there, then Thomas gets the win because Jonnu only put up 1.5 points for him. But yeah, like I think that's kind of the thing is like obviously every player has a bye week, and Thomas's team doesn't have a lot of depth, and he just wasn't able to stream tight ends effectively this week, or plug in a tight end effectively this week. So that ended up costing him. Yeah, his team just still doesn't really have the upside to me outside of Kyler, kind of. Dalvin had a good game, but hasn't, has dealt with some injuries, hasn't really been himself. And other than that, like his team, other than that and Jamar, his team has not really shown a ton of upside this year. I still don't hate his floor. I still think his team's pretty good, but just a couple of things to be concerned about there.
Yeah, I think that you hit the nail on the head. I mean, a couple of concerns for Thomas. This was a matchup of the two luckiest teams this year so far. Both of them are over a game ahead of what they would be projected, and so it's sort of fitting that Morgan got the win with a low scoring week. But yeah, I think that both of these teams are in the mix to be playoff teams. Probably not top of the power rankings, but this is a big win for Morgan. This could be one of those that late in the season when you look at the tiebreakers, because the head-to-head tiebreaker for playoffs. These games between competitive teams are super important coming down the stretch. So big win for Morgan here. And then last and least, we have Colin with the 105-73 win over Ben, who is just seems like in shambles this week. Colin was nowhere near the 200-point performance of last week, but he didn't need it. Getting the win over Ben here. And it's an important one to keep him towards the top of the standings. Now he's evened up with Grant. And not much to say. Ben continues to struggle in week 6, now 2-9 all time.
Yeah, who might have helped Ben in this game? Cooper Kupp and Jalen Waddle.
Cooper Kupp would have been good.
And Jalen Waddle, yeah. I think both of them might have helped a little bit. I think Jonathan Taylor is just continues to be, I think, Colin's biggest takeaway as it was the last couple weeks. I think that makes, he got off to a little bit of a slow start, but I think now with how well he's been playing the last couple of weeks, I think that makes his team, such a force and keeps his upside high. I know he didn't have, outside of him and Josh Allen and Cortland Sutton didn't have the rest of his team didn't perform, but I still think
Taylor's running back 4 on the season right now, which is outrageous.
Yeah, and then he still has Eckler, who's been great. But yeah, so I think that keeps Colin's upside just very, very high. I think we talked about Zach, stick a fork in him. I think you can stick a fork in Ben as well. I think 1-5 with just no upside. Chris Carson's hurt. Real dire situation. If you just turned Cooper Kupp into something better or kept Cooper Kupp, might not have to worry about this. Might be 2-4 right now, but
he'd be 3-3 if you'd kept Cooper Kupp. He would have won last week and this week.
Yeah. So basically, I would say that trade cost them any chance he had at the playoffs. And so I think he's just done 1-5. Michael Thomas is not coming back and for the next couple of weeks, so he's not going to get a boost there. Julio's hurt, so that trade just is just going to absolutely bite him in the ass.
Yeah, and I'm not sure where you really move forward if you're Ben, because I don't know he's got Waller. I guess if you're towards the bottom of the league, maybe you trade Waller and try to get some flex options, because there's a lot of teams streaming tight ends, and so if you can capitalize on that, maybe that's where you get some value. I'm really not sure.
But Waller hasn't even been that much better than streaming tight ends. Or
yeah, I'm not sure what kind of value you can get for him.
Like he has not been as good as people thought coming into the year. So like his receivers he had good receiver depth, but it's been pretty underwhelming outside of Cooper Kupp, who we traded, and Deontay Johnson. So it's just, I don't know what you do if you're him. I don't know where you go.
Yeah, you can't afford to sell low on Waller.
Yeah.
So I'm not sure. All right, so that gets us through the matchups. And it was a good week, some close games, not nearly as high scoring as last week, but that was expected to happen after that, bonanza from last week. I think our power rankings are gonna be interesting here because a lot of the favorites won. We're kind of probably not as much movement as we've had previously. Anything else to go over before we jump right into those?
No, I think I think the standings are if we want to look at them, I don't think a ton has changed, but I'm ready to get into power rankings.
Yeah, from the standings point of view, it's Grant and Colin at the top at 5-1. Then you got a host of teams at 4-2 with you, me, Morgan, and Thomas. And then at 3-3, Nick, Hunter, just Nick and Hunter are right in there. And then the bottom four of Dan, Austin, Ben, and Zach are kind of bringing up the rear. Dan 2-4, Austin and Ben at 1-5, and Zach at 0-6. I think that really the standings kind of reflect what's happened. The scoring, if you look at the scoring, is not that different from the standings. So I think, as far as Zach should have 2.5 wins right now, and he's got 0. So that's obviously super unfortunate. And Austin's been super unlucky. But both of those teams also haven't been great. They should be under 500 anyway. So nobody who's really in contention has been extremely lucky or unlucky. Maybe Morgan and Thomas a little bit, but I think they have decent rosters. So I don't know. I think that the standings are like a pretty accurate reflection of where we're at 6 weeks.
Yeah. I think Austin could argue he should be 3-3 because even though he's 11th in scoring, he's had 3 top 3 or top 4 weeks. It's just his 3 losses. I think he was last in 2 of them, and maybe like 11th in the other one. There were 3.
Yeah, he's been third twice and 5th once, and then his 3 losses. He was 10th, 11th, 12th. So.
Yeah, so you can make the argument he's 3-3, but his team's also been pretty inconsistent and is 11th in scoring. So I think they obviously there's going to be some differences, but I think for the most part pretty accurate standings to points scored.
I agree. Well, then I guess with that we'll get into the power rankings for week 7, and I'll lead it off at number 12. I got Ben. He's 1-5, scored the lowest points in the league. I certainly can't move him up. I had him 12 last week, and I think his by a decent margin is the worst team in the league. I don't think there's a lot you look at on this roster to be encouraged about, especially with Carson injured. It looks like Edmonds and Moss are like timeshare running backs. So I don't think there's an argument here from my standpoint for anyone other than Ben at 12.
I agree. I moved Ben down to 12. I had Zach at 12 last week, but I kind of just looking at it, I was like, they're both going to miss the playoffs. Zach seems better. He's scored more points. He's got more unlucky. So even though Zach's team is a little bit injured, even with the Kareem Hunt injury, it's still better. So I have Ben at 12.
Yep. So, and then I'm with you, I guess, on Zach at 11 too. I think at 0-6, loses Kareem Hunt. Really, really tough break. His team is really injured right now, and he's moving down in scoring. He was second lowest points this week, I think. Lots to be concerned about for Zach too. I have him at 11, and I guess you do too.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, it seemed I still think you could probably make the argument he has the ninth best roster, but doesn't have a win, and it's not like the argument wouldn't be strong enough for over Austin, who has one more win than him, or Dan, who has two more wins.
Yeah, I got Austin at 10. I think some signs of life from him the last couple of weeks, some decent performances, but he's still down Clyde, and he's 1-5, which obviously doesn't do him any favors. Kittle's out for we don't know how long. He's Najee going on bye. This is a tough spot to be in. I mean, he's 1-5. I don't think that his team is 10th in terms of roster, but I think as we stand in terms of chances to win the league, 10th is a pretty fair ranking.
No, I agree. I came really close to putting Dan here, but Dan does have a game on him, and I just think Henry and Kamara is enough with kind of to push him ahead of Austin, who's got the the Clyde and the Kittle injuries. So yeah, I agree. I think Najee, I'd rather basically it comes down to Najee or I like Henry and Kamara more than Najee and Hopkins right now. So yeah, and Dan has an extra game on him.
I agree. It's Dan at 9 for me too. He's got that game up, and I think that Henry Kamara, he's got that 110-point floor. I mean, not really his floor, but that seems like the range he's in every week. Eventually, he's going to convert that into some wins. He's 2-4. As we get through the bye weeks, like you said, there's 2 weeks where he basically can't win. But any other week, he's not losing that much as long as he's got those 2 running backs. So, barring an injury to one of those guys, he's got a decent floor, and I think we'll get some wins as we move through the season. The upside is low, but I think 9 is a fair ranking. And so I think that's my bottom 4 is identical to last week. You just flipped Zach and Ben, but we match each other on this one. And I think we both probably agree that the top 8 teams are the ones that are likely going to be competing for those playoff spots.
Yeah, like you said, barring Dan turning something around, I think I would say I would bet pretty heavily on 6 of these 8 make the playoffs.
Yeah. All right. So at 8, I'm a little bit unorthodox move here, but I got myself at 8 despite the big week. The only team that I had below me last week was Nick, that I moved up, and I just think that I don't know. There's just a lot of teams that I like the roster better. I think the depth is a little bit concerning, although I think my upside is up there with any team in the league. I've got 4 top 2 weeks already. So I think, we'll see if I can hold on. I played an easy schedule so far, but can't complain about being 4-2.
Y'all can't see this because I'm looking at the y'all are looking at the power rankings, but I just rolled my eyes so hard. I have Nick at number 8. I kept him at 8. It's a good win, number 1 scorer in the league this week, but he's still got the running back issues. Maybe he gets Khalil Herbert for another week, but Damian Williams might come back, and so that kind of renders him less useful. Javonte is still in a split time backfield, so the receivers are coming around, which is nice, but he still does have running back issues.
7, I have Thomas. I moved him down 2 spots. I think that getting Dalvin back is huge, but I still just have questions about the depth. We saw he didn't do well with Pitts missing the week. I don't know. I mean, I feel like this next 5 to 8 is all really close here. But Thomas slots in at 7 coming off the loss.
Yeah, I agree. I have Thomas at 7. We're still searching for the upside. Still doesn't have quite the depth yet. And really, he's good. He's lucky that he got those couple of cheap wins because he hasn't had injury issues. He's kind of the only team I can think of that hasn't had to deal with injuries. And so you never bet on injuries, but at some point that'll even out a little bit. So he's we like the starting lineup coming in the year, and his entire starting lineup really hasn't been hurt.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I don't think I don't know. It's weird for me to have him 7th because I think his team is really good, but how am I going to put him ahead of Morgan, who just beat him, and who has that receiver duo that's just outrageously good and solid running backs. I mean, Morgan.
Oh no, yeah, I agree.
Running backs and receivers is just better. So that's why I have Morgan at 6. I think those 2 are close, but they played this week and Morgan just beat them. So I got Morgan at 6.
Yeah, so do I. That was going to be probably the battle for my number 6 seed, was whoever won that matchup, and Morgan did. And yeah, like I think you've been higher on his running backs than I have. But I guess I'm starting to come around. Like Mixon's been really good this year when healthy. Josh Jacobs is good when healthy. So I think if those two guys can stay healthy, I think Morgan's got like a legitimate playoff team that can contend.
So I guess our disagreement here is that I've got Nick at 5. I think that, coming off a 146-point week, and I was just looking at his roster and I was like, I think the things we said at the beginning of the year are still true. Tom Brady's been elite. And then I just think Calvin Ridley, Stephon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, all, while they haven't been maybe what we thought so far, I think, they all look like their roles are increasing and are in good positions. Mark Andrews has been awesome. And his running backs, which was a big concern, I think Javonte Williams the needle's only trending upwards. Damian Harris looks good. He's got Collins for maybe a few weeks. I don't know. I think his team's moving up. I mean, he scored 140 points this week. What do you have? 120 something last week. Another good performance. I just like the team.
I mean, well, Collins might be out this week, but I do think he has Sterling Shepard, right? And so
he has Sterling Shepard.
Yeah, all the Giants receivers are hurt. So
2 straight 140-point weeks.
Yeah, so all the other Giants receivers are hurt, so that'll be a good option for him. But yeah, I don't know. I still don't see it with his running backs. I have Hunter at 5. It's really just a McCaffrey thing. I don't love his running back 2 options. I guess Mike Davis, but he's kind of in this weird situation with Cordero, and Trey Sermon is in the 49ers backfield. And so, he doesn't have McCaffrey for at least 2 more weeks, and we'll see after that. So I think Hunter's got the ability to move up. But I still don't, it's kind of a McCaffrey injury docking, which I kept him at 5 though. So I would have moved him up more after his good week, but the McCaffrey injury hurts.
I mean, in my head, I said it last week, and I think it's even more true now. There's four legitimately really good teams, and I think it's sort of tier above. I think you can divide the league into thirds, and I think that Hunter's team with McCaffrey is just going to be. I mean, McCaffrey and Darrell Henderson. Once he gets those guys back, McCaffrey's the RB1. I think Henderson's probably a top 6 guy at this point, and then he's got Cooper Kupp, who's maybe the wide receiver 1, at least top 3. DJ Moore, who's been another wide receiver 1. So he's got, 2 running back 1s and 2 wide receiver 1s. No one's going to compete with that, I don't think. If he can have anyone else hit anywhere, his team is going to be really good. And what holds me back, what keeps him at number 4 is that he still doesn't have the record, and we don't know when McCaffrey's coming back. But whenever that happens, I think this is going to be a scary team. And I think that the fact that he's been projected like 132 and 127 the last 2 weeks just shows like how good this roster actually is.
Yeah, I mean, Waddle's been better recently, which is nice. His receivers still haven't shown a ton of consistency, like his flex receivers still haven't shown a ton of consistency. So I do think there's a couple issues, and I think the McCaffrey situation has just been weird, and like they said he was only going to miss.
But yeah, I think he'll be. I mean, by the time we get to the playoffs, I think he'll have McCaffrey. And we talked about it earlier. When McCaffrey's playing, he's just so good.
Yeah, but what if he's 7-7 going to the playoffs and he has to play an extra game?
I just don't know how he gets to 7-7. I think.
I mean, what if McCaffrey misses 3 more games? He's 3-6, or he's 4-5. I don't know. I like Hunter's team. I'm just saying, he doesn't have one of the top 2 players in fantasy football right now playing for him. So
I mean, McCaffrey Henderson Cup is ridiculous.
No, I agree. And DJ Moore, I agree. I'm just saying, right now he doesn't have McCaffrey, and the situation with McCaffrey, I'm kind of being a little cautious about it, because I just the Panthers have been super weird about it. Listen, as a Pelicans fan who's messaging on their star player's injury, it's very crowded and lied to a lot. I get very wary of situations like this.
That's fair. That's fair. But okay, but do you at least agree that if we
With
just
McCaffrey, he has one of the three best teams.
if we reset the draft right now, McCaffrey
Yeah.
and Henderson are all top 10 guys.
Yeah. Well,
So I think that speaks for itself then.
yeah, like I would always be worried about like if we had to take if we're playing week 7 on like redraft, then I would kind of be worried of taking McCaffrey though, because like the situation just seems weird. And like we kind of saw this last year where he came back and then he got hurt again, and I don't know.
Yeah. Well, let's see. We'll monitor it moving forward. So anyway, I got 104.
Okay, I have you at 4. Big upside, good week. And you didn't even get a ton. You didn't even get peak Mahomes and peak Tyreek or peak Aaron Jones, and you still put up 140. You got Chuba. Like I think this is a big like kind of our I think our disagreement is going on the McCaffrey situation. I think you have Chuba for at least 2 more weeks. I think it could be more than that, and so that's a big fill-in right there for you. You're getting Gronk back this week. Thielen and Claypool. I think you're selling your depth a little bit short. Obviously, the running back situation is not great, or the running back 2 situation is not great, or running back depth. But as long as you have Chuba as the starting running back in Carolina, I think it's more than good enough. And so the rest of your roster has more than enough upside to carry you through.
Yeah, I mean, I guess I'm doing a little bit of projecting of like, what is this lineup going to look like, going into the playoffs? And so that's probably our discrepancy.
Yeah, no, I'm doing a little bit more post through week 6.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then at number 3, and this is another one that feels weird, I've got Grant. I think that, you beating him this week with him only having 98 points, maybe is there a crack? I mean, now he's got Leonard looking like a running back 1. So, whenever Barkley comes back, I don't know. He's going to be really, really good again. But DK without Russ for a little while, it just, still a really, really good elite team. But he ends up at 3.
I have myself at 3. I get what you're saying, but Grant still has a better record and has scored more points than me this year. I forgot to bring that up when talking about our recap. I think, I've been pretty high on Leonard this year. I think that's a huge boost for him. He's had, his running back situation is pretty good, but like it's been weird to say the least. Like with all this like Cordero situation and the Saquon, injuries and then high performances and now injury again. Like so, I think the Leonard performance is like a huge boost for him. As far as I go, I just a couple injury issues. I'm not gonna have Chubb this week, but Kareem Hunt will probably be out longer than Chubb, so that's probably a boost when Chubb gets back. Lockett with no Russ, I think is a bigger factor than DK without Russ. I think it's pretty clear Lockett needs Russ a lot more. And yeah, like I don't know, like we had like a huge argument about this week. I just think the Jalen Hurts thing, I think he's gonna be pretty good throughout the season. I think he's just he's got to be due for a performance or 2. There's no way this rushing touchdown production is sustainable for me. So I have myself at 3. I have Grant at 2.
Well, then, I have you at 2. I mean, I think what breaks this tie for me is that you just beat him head to head. So that's a big differentiator for me. So I got you at number 2 and Grant at number 3. I think your team is just really good. I really like Hurts rest of the season. I think that you lose a running back with Williams and Chubb on the injured reserve, but you got Darrell to fill in, and James Robinson looks really good again, and just the depth. I don't know. I like your team a lot. I have you at 2. You're 4-2. I still think I'd maybe rather Grant's roster, but you just beat him head to head, so that puts me over you. That puts you over him in my rankings.
Yeah, but if you'd rather have his roster and he has a better record, then I don't understand the argument for me. Like
you just beat him.
What? He was down 3 starters.
Well, you were down Chubb
and Montgomery, but I was only down 2
exactly.
starters.
You were down 2 starters.
I was only down 2 starters. 3-2.
Well, you could consider Tyler Lockett out.
I guess. I don't
know. Anyway, and then who do you have it to?
I have Grant at 2.
Okay. And then at 1, so I guess it sounds like we both have Colin at 1. I mean, this team, he's got 2 top 5 picks if we redrafted right now. At his 2 running back spots, with Taylor and Eckler, Josh Allen obviously really good again, and then the receivers are super deep. I don't know what's the problem. I guess tight end is the whole, but still this team is just really good, really deep. Leading the league in scoring. He's 5-1. I don't see what's the argument against Colin at number 1.
He got a big boost to tight end because the Eagles traded Ertz.
Oh, that's right.
To clear up kind of the Goddard situation. So I think even that's a huge thing for him. Yeah, I mean, like, best quarterback in the league. 2, like, at the very worst, 2 top 7 players at running back. Super high receiver upside. So yeah, I think the case is still there for Colin. Had a little bit of a down week, and you have enough high upside guys, and they'll be able to carry you through some weeks, even when the others don't come to play. That happened with Sutton, Jonathan Taylor, and Josh Allen. So I think Colin at number 1. I was waiting for Grant to lose, but Colin number 1 happened this week. So I think easy case for Colin at number 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think for Colin, the biggest, there is a little bit concern with the receivers, with Williams being inconsistent, and then Bateman comes back and Hollywood's not quite as involved, and then if Judy's coming back soon, maybe Sutton's not quite as involved. But I mean, that's just minor stuff. I think Colin is clear number 1 for both of those.
Yeah. Hasn't Bateman already come back for the Ravens?
Yeah, he came back this week.
Yeah. So I don't know. I still.
Hollywood had
Hollywood
5 points.
Start the game.
But yeah, got like 7 targets.
Yeah, Hollywood's still gonna be fine. I think I kind of agree with your point about Judy and Sutton, but they also lost like Hamler and another receiver, I think, or maybe not. They still have Tim
They
Patrick.
still got Fireball Jones over there.
Yeah. So yeah. So no, I agree. I think Colin's team still number 1.
All right. Well, that'll wrap up the week 6 post week 6 power rankings. We did have a little bit of disagreements there, but it seems like things are shaking out a little bit. We will be joined up next by the man that the people wanted to hear from, which is the Monday Night Loser. So Thomas will be joining us in just a second.
All right. Wow. So we are joined now by the man that the league wanted to hear from, the Monday Night Loser, which is Thomas. Thomas, what's going on?
I mean, I think you guys just want me to want people to come on who just lost. At this point, you just like watching people like in pain at this point.
Yeah. I mean, we've been trying to pick winners every week. But I put the poll in the group and it was, I think you were the only person that didn't want to hear from you.
Yeah. It's crazy.
I didn't vote. I stayed neutral, just for the record.
Joe has journalistic integrity. I don't.
Oh, good for him.
Yeah. So I guess we'll start there. Were you watching the game? How did you feel about your chances going in up 4 with nobody left?
Look, I have been cheesing wins for like 6 weeks now. And obviously I went in thinking like, look, I'm going to cheese this too. For some stupid reason, Dawson Knox is going to get hurt, which he did. But to lose in that shitty way where I was like, oh my God, like, wait, he got like a reception and it was like for 3 yards and I was still up by like 0.0 whatever. I was like, that's it. There's no way. Like, this is the stupidest thing that's ever happened. So it has to come out in my favor. But then something even stupider happened where he just, where he threw, what is it? He threw it a 2-point conversion to Josh Allen.
Yeah, it was Philly special. Yeah.
Yeah, that was stupid.
Apparently he already had the broken hand at that point too.
Did he actually? Did he throw with that broken hand?
I mean, the way he threw it, yeah, that's very believable.
So they said he threw it with a broken hand.
Yeah.
Bro, what the fuck? Are you kidding?
No, yeah, that's an unfortunate way to lose. That's something I would expect to see from Zach. Joe, what questions do you have for Thomas?
Yeah, so just historically, you've been the butt of a lot of jokes of the league. Nick came on the podcast last week and just was calling you out. So I just want to get the mentality of the locker room after a nice 4-2 start. Is it like I showed all of you, I told you so, or is it more of a, this is not near what we've want to accomplish? We have bigger goals in mind. Like, what's the mentality of the locker room right now?
Look, we have set our goals and we've always achieved our goals. All right. Even if the highest goal was getting the Sacco Trophy named after me, and we achieved that goal. And now we will move on to better heights, maybe even playoffs. That's what our focus is. Playoffs.
I like that.
I've seen Parker be the Sacco way too many times, and I love it. And I want to see it again. If that means beating Parker 12 weeks in a row, I want that.
Well, I will say, you say your goal is the playoffs, and you have been to the playoffs before.
Yes.
You went in 2013 and you went in 2018. They were both quick trips, and you scored 55 and 65 points in those 2 games.
Hell yeah.
So you say your goal is to get to the playoffs. Do you worry that once you get there, your team may not show up, just like the last 2 times?
Yeah, but like if they don't show up, we've accomplished the goal. It doesn't matter at that point. Look, I could score 12 points and be like, I'm out. That's great. See you later. See you next year.
Okay.
And when I do win a playoff game, since the cheese is on my side this year, all right, I've got Lady Luck in my back pocket, obviously. After beating Nick with 80 points.
Yeah.
Something like that.
And then you beat
also
Ben
the
with
meme I
guy
made
that
was
wasn't playing in your
crazy,
lineup.
Fuck y'all. I lost what I was saying. But yeah, when I do win a playoff game, you should be really embarrassed because that's bonus for me.
That's a good point. The person who gives Thomas his first playoff win, that's something that they'll have to live with the rest of their lives.
Forever.
Yeah.
I think one of the things Joe's talking about how you kind of, and you talked about it too, how you were historically very good at being very bad. And one of the things, everyone knows that 2011 season, you basically just gave Nick your whole team. And you only won 2 games. My question is then, that year, I don't know why you did that, but it's hard to blame you for being bad in that scenario. The next year you came back, actually drafted your team and won 1 game. So what happened there?
Was that the Matthew Stafford one?
No, that was 4 years later.
Was it actually?
That was 2015.
No way.
I think that was 2015. If I'm not mistaken.
Dude, I usually go with some themes. I went with some theme on those drafts. Was it the Eagles draft? Because I think I made the playoffs with that one.
I don't think you made the playoffs at 1-12. So
okay, well probably wasn't that one. I honestly don't remember that draft.
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie, I don't remember who you drafted in 2012 either. Okay. But I don't know, just the first 2 years in the league, you averaged 55 points a game. So, it was the dead ball era, but that was a special type of dead ball there.
Yeah.
Anyway, but now that brings us to this year. And this year you come in, we liked your team after the draft. You start out hot, winning some games. Actually, before this week, you'd won 8 out of your last 9 games, which is by far the best you've ever done in a 9-game span. So what changed? What are you doing now that you weren't doing then?
What, back in 2011?
Or just ever before week 10 of last year?
I think I'm doing one thing. Caring. Actually reading into what or how to get a good fantasy team, or actually trying to get a good fantasy team instead of actually having just some theme of just meme players, right?
I think you might be onto something here.
I think so. Just what was it? I had a strategy of just my only strategy before was just get Michael Vick at all costs, right?
Are you saying that sometimes Michael Vick is not worth all prices?
Yeah, just fact check. 2012 was the all Eagles year. If
who did you draft?
If you like me,
I got
Thomas'
entire Eagles team.
Yeah, I want to hear Thomas's 2012 lineup.
Sam Bradford, Michael Vick, LaShawn McCoy, Daryl Richardson, little blast from the past, Jeremy Maclin, Anquan Bolden, Brent Selleck, Deshaun Jackson, the Eagles defense, and Alex Henry. Nick Foles on his bench. He had 4 open bench spots. And Brandon Bolden still in the league on his IR that year.
He's got like 6 Eagles in his lineup.
Let's see. One of his quarterbacks, one of his running backs, one of his receivers, one of his tight ends, his flex, his defense, and his kicker. Yeah.
Wow. That's commitment.
Yeah. I mean, that makes sense. Like it's all my entire team is based on one game.
It'd be one thing if your entire team was like the Chiefs now or the Patriots.
Yeah. And like that team wasn't good.
Right.
I think that was Andy Reid's last year. I think that was right before they hired Chip.
Yeah. Yeah. So like having a real strategy at least, which is like, it's pretty basic still, but like having a real one is better than just, hey, get Michael Vick or Matthew Stafford in the second round or whatever.
No, I agree. I mean, I think your draft this year, you got Dalvin, obviously top notch guy. I don't think you paid a lot for him, but you didn't pay as much as McCaffrey or Kamara. And then you got Deandre Swift, who was like a really good value. So that, running backs right there are already really good. And then everything else, the Jonnu Smith, the receivers have been a little bit underwhelming, but you got you have
dude, wait.
Hits.
I picked
and Tyler.
No way. I had a strategy of like, the Chargers and the Rams are going to be great. So get a receiver from there. And I chose wrong on both. Mike Williams and Cooper Kupp are fucking killing it. And look at Robert Woods and Keenan Allen. They're not doing shit. They're not doing anything. It's actually so frustrating.
That's actually a great point. Yeah, you were close on those 2 picks. You had the right idea.
Yeah. It's crazy. Actually, now that I'm actually doing this seriously, I hate fantasy. I hate it. I understand it, Parker, that when you go like, oh, I'm going to go jump off a bridge after losing, what is it? Losing T.Y. Hilton for some shit reason, right?
Yeah, exactly. It's absolutely infuriating.
I hate fantasy.
The worst thing to do is actually care and watch the games. Like there's no worse combo than that.
And watch your team lose.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
some bullshit.
Parker has had some epic meltdowns throughout the years.
Joe was with me when I was watching that game where I think I lost to you. Where I had, let's see, you had the Cardinals the Jets, the Cardinals defense, and I had David Johnson and the Cardinals kicker or something like that. And I was ahead, and the Jets put in Geno Smith. He threw like this terrible pick, and so you got the lead back on that.
Yeah.
And then I was like, well, I got David Johnson and their kicker, so like nothing could go wrong here. And then they just bench David Johnson because they're so far ahead, and then they just kneel it out in field goal range, and I lose.
Yeah, it was crazy.
I was like
awesome.
I had a meltdown at that point.
What a way to win.
That was the playoffs with the top 2 running backs in fantasy.
And not even your worst one, because I would say that the Deshaun Watson against the Chiefs in like 2017 was worse than that.
Yeah, but that was a pretty bad meltdown.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I wrote like 2,000 words on the LM note that night.
Just on me. Just shitting on me.
Yeah, I wrote like a full ass essay.
I can't remember what year that was, but I do remember reading that and just loving every minute. That's the first time like I've read something in general, but reading it and being like, this is amazing. This is the best.
That was part of the reason to switch to the podcast, because I was like, I'm sitting here. Well, I actually hadn't done it in a while, but when I was in college, I was like, I'm sitting here writing like for 2 hours, like once a week, and then like probably no one's gonna read this because this is like actually unreadable. It's just like some bunch of fantasy stats just all jumbled together every single week.
And when you lose, it could be like the writing of someone who's like unhinged. You know, someone who's writing straight from the asylum.
Yeah. Some of that stuff could probably get me thrown in jail.
It's Parker's like fantasy manifesto of serial killers, right? We can if anything ever happens to Parker, we can all track it back through all these documents.
Yeah. I got one more question, Joe, but do you have anything else?
Yeah, my last question is, how much responsibility and like pressure do you put on yourself as head of you're seemingly the self-appointed head of memes in the league. So what do you how much pride and or pressure do you put on yourself with that?
Let's see. I obviously take a bunch of pride in it because I don't stop bragging about it. And there's really not that much pressure because you guys make the memes themselves. I mean, like every time Parker talks, it's usually some stupid bullshit that I can make fun of later, you know? And every
Yeah, that's
time
fair.
Joe ranks me in a shitty power ranking, I can just take that and make fun of him too. It's crazy. You know, this podcast is a great idea because it is just an hour full of just what I can just make shitty memes with.
I don't want to spoil it for you, but I'm sure you'll enjoy the this week's power rankings.
Actually,
You know what?
so,
Should I just tell you to go fuck yourself already?
so I said I have two more questions, but I said I have one more question, but I actually have two. One is about that. So we this week on the power rankings, you know, you would have just heard it if you're hearing this interview now. Joe and I kind of seem to think that there's a group of 8 teams that 6 of them are going to make the playoffs, and there's 4 teams that are a little bit out of it. So the 8 teams were Grant, Colin,
dude. Have you
me,
seen Ben's
Joe.
team? It's
What?
terrible. I said a little bit. Have you seen Ben's team? It's terrible, dude.
Yeah. So I mean, basically everybody, but Zach, Ben, Austin, and Dan. We were like, these are the 8 teams that 6 of them are going to make it. My question for you is, you already said you're going to make the playoffs. So is there a team in there that you think's a fraud? Is somebody going to just tank out? They're just pretending to be a good team and they're actually, they suck.
Okay, you said it was Austin, Ben. The ones who aren't are Austin, Ben, Zach, and Dan. Okay.
Yeah. So the other ones are Grant, Colin, Joe, Hunter, me, you, Morgan, and
Nick.
Yeah.
Nick. He's definitely a fraud. Oh my God. You kidding me? We not stacked. We are not stacked there. That is crazy.
All right, you heard it here first. Nick's a fraud.
I mean, I've been saying it for years. Let me go look at the other ones. You know, Hunter's team looks good on paper, but I think it's time to give up. You know, I think his record already shows that, like, it's time. It's time to start asking the hard questions. Like, should we tank or should we go for draft picks? Oh, wait, we do auctions. So should we just give up?
Yeah, just give up. Just try not to win Sacco.
Yeah.
So my last question here is, when we were doing the division draft, the chalk betting favorite was that you would be Grant's first pick for who he wanted in his division. And you weren't. He went Ben first. Did that surprise you?
No.
What did you expect? Did you expect to be the first pick?
I wanted to be the first pick so I can beat Grant's ass twice. That's awesome. Hell yeah. That is literally what I wanted. But Ben has been so dog shit for the past 3 years, right? That, like,
yeah, I think
but you guys games. But the thing is, you guys are so used to me being terrible that you just haven't noticed that Ben has been just as bad in these past 3 years as I was in 2011, 12, and up until like 2 years ago. Dude, I'm telling you.
The last 2 years, Ben's won 5, 5, and 3.
Yeah.
You won 3 games total the first 2 years.
Yeah.
So I think
I don't see your point.
I do think that you have won more games than Ben in the last 3 years. That is true.
Yeah, see? That's what I'm saying, is that, like, but my point still stands, is that you are so used to being terrible that you just haven't noticed that Ben has been really bad, you know?
I agree. Obviously, Grant's looking at the same things. Grant's looking at the advanced analytics, and he arrives.
That's what champions do. That's what he's been doing. He's playing chess while y'all playing checkers. You know.
Yeah, whatever he's doing is working.
Way too.
Grant's been ridiculous the last 3 years.
And that's
all right. So let's move on and get into the picks, and we'll start with the most projected points for this week, which is the game that you're in, Thomas, and it's not you. So Dan comes in 2-4. We've been counting him out, and he is a 22.8 point favorite against you this week. Thomas, how do you feel about that line? And then what's your pick? Remember, we're doing Nick rules now, so you can pick the game head to head, but you're allowed 1 over and 1 under for the week. But you don't have to use it, but you can. It's an option that's available.
Okay, so I may be a heavy underdog. But obviously, I have to pick me. My ego cannot allow me to pick my opponent. And here's why. Kyler Murray against Houston. Their defense is trash, right? And he's gonna torch them. And they're also without Deshaun Weinstein, so you might as well just chalk it up that Kyler Murray is getting the 30, 35, 40 points. All right. That I'm already making up 16 points there because I think he's projected like 24. And another thing is that Randall Cobb against the most disappointing defense of 2021, which is the football teams, he's going to torch them too. And Aaron Rodgers is going to get bored throwing it to Devontae Adams at some point because they're going to destroy them. That's why I think I'm going to win. Randall Cobb and Kyler Murray.
Yeah, people forget that Randall Cobb like lives at Aaron Rodgers' house or something like that.
Yeah, and like that was like, what was it? He was the one person that he wanted for him to come back and play.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, I thought that was a good pickup by you. I'm gonna take, just looking at it, I think this is the highest point total of the 6 matchups this week. So I'm gonna take the under. I don't believe in Dan's team at all. I think 124, even as good as Derrick Henry is way too many points for him. I don't see him getting there. Sure, Thomas will get probably around, in the 100, the 110 range, but I'm going way under on Dan's team. So I'm taking the under here.
The under of 225?
Yeah, the under is like I think it was 126 because it's 124.4 plus
226.
Yeah, 226. Yeah.
All right. I like that pick. I think I will take Thomas as well. I don't like Dan as a 23-point favorite. That's just too many points game of the week already. First game, way too many points here. I like Thomas. And speaking of one thing, the Deshaun Weinstein comment brings to mind the fact that one of your starting running backs is Deandre Swift. Given the possible situation surrounding Deandre Swift, do you have any moral qualms with having him on your starting lineup week in and week out?
What's the situation?
He apparently allegedly maybe murdered someone, but not really.
What?
He was on a police report, I think, for some homicide case, but it turned out I don't think that was anything. But it came out 15 minutes before their week 1 game, so everybody was freaking out. But I don't think anything's gonna come of it.
It seems like the coach has been keeping this from the owner here. So I'll have to look into it. Maybe do an independent investigation, check his emails or something, But I'll have to get back to you on that.
I think actually it turned out to be a fake Twitter report. I believe. I think that one of the journalists said that he called the police station or something to ask if Deandre Swift was implicated in just killing some guy. So
that's it. That's where it came from.
I don't remember the story, but it was something along those lines.
That's so funny. What a way for something to just balloon way out of control.
I thought we talked about this in the group meeting right before, right when it happened, but maybe not.
We may have. I think we did. Anyway, all right, we'll move on. We'll move on from unsubstantiated allegations to the next highest point total of the week, which is me. I'm a 5.1 point favorite against Grant. That is assuming Grant picks up the top available quarterback, because I don't think he's going to go quarterback list in this game. So about a 5-point line, and that'll push the over-under to about 239, which in my opinion, once again, too many points. That's a high total for these two teams. With the lineups we have, Grant's got a starting quarterback on bye. So I'll take the under in this one.
Okay. Yeah, actually, when I was talking about the Dan Thomas under, I forgot that Grant doesn't have a quarterback. I'm gonna go with Grant. I think so if he's a 5-point underdog, I think you're down 2 starters on bye. He's down Dak, but you can plug in somebody that can step in. I think big Tennessee Kansas City matchup. Where is Mahomes going to go with the ball? If he goes to Kelsey, that's big for Grant, or excuse me. If he goes to Tyreek, obviously big for you. So that's going to be a huge factor. I like Cordero off the bye. I like. I think DK is going to have a good game script against New Orleans. I think Grant barely edges you out, so I'll take the points.
Thomas.
I think I have to see Parker lose because I want to see him as a Sacco again. And I also think Grant rides this Cordell Patterson bullshit to another win. And when Cordell Patterson just cools off, that's when Grant Hardy loses. And hopefully it's in the playoffs.
You got Grant in this one. All right. We got 10 minutes left on our meeting, so we better start hurrying through these picks a little bit. The next highest total of the week is Hunter. He is a 16.5 point favorite against Nick. A high total for Hunter with McCaffrey out for another week. But
a fraud fight.
Yeah, who's a fraud here? But Nick's missing 2 of his starting receivers. He's missing Diggs. He's missing Lamb. I don't know if his depth's good enough. Alex Collins may not play, and he doesn't have a great option to put in if he doesn't. So I don't know if Khalil Herbert is going to be the starter or if Damian Williams is going to come back. Too many question marks from Nick here. I'll take Hunter to cover the 16.5. It's a lot of points, but I have a lot of questions, so I'm taking Hunter.
Yeah, I agree. I think there's a big matchup between the 2, 3, and 3 teams. You know, the winner gets a big boost up. You know, you got to figure one of the 4 and 2 teams is probably going to lose this week. So yeah, I think that's a huge matchup, and I trust Hunter's lineup right now more than Nick's down 2 starters.
Doesn't Nick still have Calvin Ridley, right?
Yeah.
Is he like not doing well or something?
No, he took a week off for like a personal reason, didn't go to London, but he is playing this week.
Okay, well,
rumors are he lost his passport. He didn't have his passport in time.
Some people's rumors.
What? Some guy who called a police station asking for?
No, that was Nick.
I don't know. I heard it from Nick, so
yeah.
I don't see how it's false. I mean, Nick's a pretty reputable guy.
Yeah. He's starting Sterling Shepard, which is like, why? Because like Daniel Jones keeps trying to throw it to the other team. And so that's why I'm going to take Hunter.
All right. So we're all taking Hunter across the board here. All right. Next matchup. Man, there are some real disastrous bye week projected totals here. But we got Morgan coming in as a 15.5 point favorite against Colin. Couple of teams with good records. Colin's got a tough bye week situation here. So Morgan's a big favorite. What do you think about this one, Thomas?
Let's see. I will also take Morgan, or I'm going to take Morgan because
Morgan to cover
the 16-point spread. I don't think so. I think it'll be pretty close.
But yeah,
I think it'll be pretty close. I still think Morgan will win though.
We got to pick against the spread. So you think Colin's going to be within?
Yeah, Colin's going to be within it. God. There's so much math.
I agree. I'm gonna take Colin with the points. I think I know he's down 3 guys. 2 of his 3 like really high upside guys for him this year. But I still like the rest of his team. I think 16 that or 15.5. That's gonna be my too many points pick of the week.
Okay, well, I'm gonna go against the grain here, and I'm gonna take Morgan. Just looking at Colin's lineup, he's losing 3 of his best players to bye weeks, and Dallas Goedert's still on the COVID list. We don't know if he's coming back. There's a chance he's got Tunyon and Evan Ingram in his lineup. That just does not strike me as a team that's going to cover 15.5 points. I had him first in my power rankings, but can't pick him this week. I got Morgan. All right, so we'll move on to the first of the disastrous low-scoring matchups, and that is Ben coming in as a favorite, even though he's projected 97 points against Austin. So Ben is a 2.7 point favorite in this one. Austin is missing Najee. He's missing Clyde. He's missing Tony Pollard. He's missing Alexander Madison. Kittle's on the IR. Nick is missing. I mean, Ben is missing Deontay Johnson. He's missing Zach Moss. This is just a complete disaster fest of two lineups here. But it's essentially a pick 'em. So Joe, what's your thoughts?
Yeah. It's going to be, the big X factor for Austin is whether or not Antonio Gibson plays. If he doesn't, that's a big boost for JD McKissick. So that being said, it doesn't seem like the reports kind of do not seem like he's going to play. So I think Austin will have 2 starting running backs and his running back slots. So I'm going to go with Austin.
Thomas?
I think everybody's been shitting on Austin. So I think Ben is going to explode for at least 1,000 points because Austin's luck is actually terrible.
Yeah, 3 weeks in a row, the number 1 scorer has been against Austin.
So Ben's obviously going to score the most. He could put Joe in there, and Joe would get 40 fantasy points, right? That's just Austin's luck.
Actually,
So I'm taking Ben.
Can I change my pick? This is gonna be my over. Very few points, and I know there's a lot of guys on bye, whatever, but that's just so few points. It's 2 or 1, 91. So so that's 95 a piece. I think one team gets a little lucky, gets to the 110, 120. Then you get that easily. So I'm gonna take the over actually.
Well, my pick's Austin. I think a lot of things you said. I think Gibson's not going to play and McKissick's going to do well. I think Austin can beat him here, and I like him a lot as an underdog. And then our last matchup of the week, Joe said that was way too few points. Joe's projected to win by 14.8, despite being only projected 99.7 against Zach. Zach projected 84 points this week. For me, I'm using the same logic you just used. 184 points is just way too few points. That would make it the 4th lowest scoring matchup this year. And that's the projection. So I'm taking the over. Hammer the over.
I'm going to take myself because, again, going back, I don't think Antonio Gibson's going to play. So I'm getting out ahead of Vegas here a little bit with the 15 or 14.8, whatever. And so I think that number could even be lower come to game time because I don't think Gibson's going to play, which would really, really hurt Zach because this is just a brutal week of injuries and buys.
Yeah, I also don't think Tony's going to play, so he may just have to start it.
And yes, Tony is. Yeah, that's right. So I'm going to take myself. I like my upside a little bit more than 99. I think I'm down some guys, but I think ESPN's still selling me a little short. So I like me.
I think I'm going to take Joe because Jalen Hurts has been a difference maker, but despite how dog shit he looks on the field, his fantasy points look crazy good. So I think he's the difference. Taking Joe.
I like the pick. All right. Well, thanks for joining us, Thomas. And thanks to everyone for listening. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and leave a review in the App Store. Isn't that what you do with podcasts?
Is that actually? I don't use the App Store.
Well, we only upload this on YouTube, so.
Well, you can probably find a similarly named app in the App Store.
Yeah.
Just go give it a 5-star review.
Are you is this an announcement for expansion of the? Are you ready for some football podcast? Are you ready for some?
Are you ready for some football app coming soon? All right. Thank you all for listening, and good luck in week 7.